Well, I want to talk about one more thing and then we'll wrap it up. Who do you think's going to win? Who's coming out on top this weekend? P2 podcast episode 2. We're going to be talking about the upcoming invitational open tournament, whatever you call these things that Call of Duty's having now. The next event is going to be hosted by London Royal Ravens, and I'm pretty hyped for it because this is the first tournament. Tournament style. I'm a little bit confused on why they didn't do this to begin with. Maybe just because they wanted to get all the teams playing right out of the gate, but
probably that, and they didn't know exactly how they wanted it set up. So
I still don't think they know how they want it to set up because they're still changing what teams are playing who. Someone tweeted out a post kind of giving a graph on how many teams were scheduled to play each team, and it was really biased towards
Chicago and Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, or the teams that you know are going to be a little bit higher level versus the teams that you know are going to be a little bit lower of a level. So, I guess they changed the schedule a little bit this past week, which is a little bit interesting. I feel like they're still trying to figure it out. I'm still holding out hope. I think that it'll be fine in the future.
It's going to be I'm looking at the teams right now, and it's going to be a good weekend.
Right. And I said this in the last podcast. I think that the team is the Call of Duty team is very well aware of what's going right and what's going wrong. Maven has made it very clear that he's working with the Call of Duty team, and I think that's super cool, and that's definitely what we need.
Yeah, he's been in the scene for so long. If I was someone on the team, like high up making the decisions, I would be listening to him.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. And I didn't get a chance to listen to which podcast is he on? Hardpoints with Teep.
Hardpoints with Teep.
Yeah, I listened to a little bit of it, but I'm sure that he addressed things that went right and things that went wrong. Hardpoints is a cool podcast. You should definitely go check it out, and then tell their viewers to come and check out ours too. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah. So I have a tweet here. This is a complete side note, but I thought it was really cool, and we'll start it off on a good note. But Call of Duty News tweeted out that Activision has announced that fans raised over $1.6 million for Australia through purchases of Outback Relief Pack in Modern Warfare. So I think that's super cool. Shout out to everybody in Australia. Hope you guys are doing okay, coming back from all the crazy fires. It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I don't know.
Cool to see him start up a team, man.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I thought it was cool that that people are doing this, and Call of Duty wasn't the only one to do this. I saw a lot of streamers. Loser Fruit, who's from Australia, did like a 48-hour stream, and she raised, I think, like $600,000 by herself, which is insane. So I think it's cool to show the world that, you know, gaming is much more than sitting in a dark room for endless hours, and it's actually going to a good cause.
Yeah, it's helping people. Like, that's really cool. It's a lot of money.
I just saw that literally right before we logged on, and I thought it was pretty cool and noteworthy. So shout out to Australia. But let's go ahead and dive in. There was no tournament this past weekend, as you guys know, but I do want to talk about what can we expect moving forward into this next weekend. It's not starting on Friday like the previous times. It's going to start on Saturday, and on their website it says 6:30 a.m.
Yep.
Because it's
I got 6 a.m., but...
Yeah, I mean, it's all fixed to local time, so that'll be an interesting one to watch. I'm curious.
6 a.m.
Because it's in
process.
Wow, yeah, it's in London there, bud. And I mean, that's definitely how it happens in other sports as well. I have friends that watch racing quite a bit, and he said that there was a race in actually Australia, and it started at like right in the middle of the morning and went until like 9 a.m. in the morning. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
I remember watching League of Legends World Championship last
year. Yeah. It's the same way.
And that was at 3 a.m.
It's crazy. So It'll be different. I'm very curious to see how that's going to impact views. We had a lot of people watching the opening weekend, which was to be expected. There was a lot of rivalry games that people were anticipating. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very curious to see the amount of viewers that we get because it peaked at, did it get up to 90,000 over the past weekend?
I want to say yes.
It got pretty close to about 90,000, I want to say, which
Taker
is
League like 5.
which is a lot of people. Granted that Call of Duty Champs the past 2 years has peaked at just over 100,000. That's not too bad. So
No, especially with franchising and everything.
right. So
Enough about 2 weeks ago.
let's get into this week. Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah.
First thing I want to know: how do you feel about there only being 8 teams per weekend moving forward?
I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I'm okay with it. There's a lot of Call of Duty to be played, so we're going to be seeing a lot of like these 8 teams, which I think will give everyone a more in-depth view on like what's going on. It, from my understanding, it's all going to be main stage.
Mhm.
Like there's not going to be anything going on that we as viewers don't know about.
Right.
So
And
I
I'm
really like that.
and I it kind of reminds me of, I'm gonna mess this up. Was it Black Ops 4 that had those weird tournaments throughout the week? That was like
Every year had the Pro League.
right, but I don't think it happened every year where they did those weird LAN matches. I thought it was just last year, bud. Because those are the ones like Dashy couldn't make it because of his visa. He missed like a lot of games.
But I remember, I thought in BO3, I want to say Goonjar had the same problem.
Maybe. I know at least last year, we really dove into competitive Call of Duty last year. Years before that, we did too, but we weren't as in depth into it. But I really enjoyed having that much Call of Duty all the time. And I thought it was
Yeah.
cool that, yeah, some weeks we got to see some teams, other weeks we didn't. Um, Again, that's just like any other sport. And I think it helps
Exactly.
it helps build the hype too. So if like we're going to the one in Chicago, which is in April, early April, and yeah, I mean it's cool that we can see who's going to be playing. We can kind of help build that hype. If the Huntsmen haven't played, which I can check here. If the Huntsmen haven't played leading up to that tournament, it would be cool to like build that hype. And I don't know. I'm curious to see the fluctuation of hype going into each one of these weekends or each one of these like matches. So.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be really cool. And I just looked it up. Chicago's going to be playing up until Chicago, except for LA. They're not going to be in LA.
Really?
Yep. So they're playing this weekend at Atlanta, at Dallas, and then Chicago.
Yeah. Side note, I don't think I realized, or it didn't like click with me that the Gorillas and Optic were hosting a joint event. I thought it would be two separate events in LA, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll talk about that next weekend or 2 weekends from now, or in the bye week. But you just want to dive into seeing what's going on with the matches?
The games, see what we're expecting.
Sure.
So what I want to ask you is one of the big games for me is going to be the very first one at 6 a.m. between Paris and New York. Since New York did not have the showing that they wanted to a couple weekends ago, do you think they could step up against what's now considered a top 3 team?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of so when we did the last podcast, it was Sunday right after the event and everything. And if you remember, my take on the subliners were that, yeah, they didn't play well, but I felt like they took a lot of risks and they, like, especially the Atlanta FaZe game, they knew that they were getting stomped and they were on the back of their heels for that whole match. So they needed to try something different. And I feel like they did. I feel like they caught Atlanta FaZe off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as
They played them close-ish.
Right. I think they took the one map off of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the talent is there. They just need to work together as a cohesive unit because the other game that they played last weekend was just a bunch of misplays, a bunch of miscommunication.
Yeah.
It was a little bit rough, and the subliners talent is there. Um, I'm very interested to see because there's been a lot of hype around Sensor being a sub
Yeah.
role, and everybody who has watched anything Call of Duty in the past 6 months knows how badly Sensor wants to play. So
He has big shoes to fill, though. You
I'm
think he can do
wonder
it?
yeah, I'm wondering if New York subliners either start to get stomped or absolutely get stomped this weekend if they don't sub him in. I'm
Yeah.
very curious, and he hasn't played on a pro team since
Forever.
AW. AW, I
Say.
think
Yeah, around.
he played with FaZe Black.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Forgot about that one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Red.
Uh, he played for FaZe Black and AW, and or didn't he start his own team? I don't remember, but anyway, yeah, he definitely wants to play. I feel like he's been grinding enough. There was a clip released. Crim6 was asking him like, "Okay, well, what are you gonna do to like start playing?" And then Crim6 just
rant.
yeah, Crim6 just left his desk, and Sensor literally gave him like a 5-minute rant of what he's gonna do. He's like, "I'm gonna start a movement. Like, I want to be the first one on to start practicing. I want to be the first one on to start playing tens." And I'm not gonna lie, like I've never been a huge Sensor fan. I watch his videos every now and again, but
Yeah.
it kind of got me a little bit hyped. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I want to see him do something.
this guy's got some passion to him. So I'm curious to see if the subliners are willing to sub him in. And then I'm curious to see how well the other teammates are going to adopt him. I feel like he's a big personality to deal with. And if like Temp is still on that team, everyone knows Temp's a hothead. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that will make them better as a cohesive unit, but I feel like that's just their biggest problem right now is like Paris Legion came out and they played as a solid unit, which blew everybody out of the water. No one knew that Paris was like that cohesive as a team. So I feel like subliners need to take this past week and then this upcoming week to figure out what they need to do to work better as a team.
I agree. I do not think we'll see Censor this week. Because like we were saying a couple weeks ago was the first time, and like you got to get those first time jitters out of there. Yeah, New York is full of superstars, but everyone's gonna have some butterflies leading up to the first CDL game. But if they are gonna sub Censor in, that means someone's gonna be on the chopping block.
Right.
Who do you think that person is right now? Who do you think needs to step it up for this team to
Let
secure their
let
starting
me pull up their roster real quick so everyone else can see who else is on this team. I think the duo stays. I think Attach and
spot? Attach and Zuma.
Yep, I think they stay. Oh,
I would say based on 2 weeks ago performance, if I don't see Temp step it up, he needs to be gone.
Yeah,
He needs to do something.
I think because someone tweeted out a list of KDs from this past weekend, and I know that it was only one weekend. They only played 2 matches. New York Subliners only played 7 maps, so it's like I know those stats are really skewed, but I think Temp had the lowest out of the New York Subliners in KD. So I would either say if you're gonna sub in Sensor, I think Temp, if you take him out of the equation, I feel like that gives them a better shot to be a unit. Like I said, I feel like there's going to be less clash with personalities if they take Temp off. Am I remembering this correctly? Did Zero have a really poor week last week?
I don't remember. I think he did just about average. No one did worse than Temp though. Love the guy to death. Even though he crapped on me when I played him in Black Ops 4 ranked play.
Well, yeah.
But,
He-
yeah. He's like, "Who's this? It's Mort kid. He needs to do something." I'm like, "All right,
Yeah,
sit
well,
down."
so I think that's my decision. I think censor for temp
All
would
right.
be their best move if they're gonna make a sub. And I would love to see Doug play, man. I think it'd be funny.
Yeah, me and you both. A lot of eyes are on him if he does.
Um, so anyway, let's go into what your prediction is gonna be. Who's gonna win against Paris Legion and Subliners? I'm gonna take tallies of who we think is gonna win, and then we're gonna go off that. At least for these initial rounds, because I mean, Subliners could get stomped and then they could come back
Yeah.
through losers bracket. I don't know. I mean, I'm very curious to see how this tournament style is gonna work out. Is it double elim like last year?
Yes, I
Okay.
want to say.
Okay.
Uh, so over or between the Legion and the Subliners, I would say Paris.
Paris, what do you think map count's gonna be?
3-2. It's going to be a very close game.
You think? Okay.
Yep, Subliners I feel like can pull their stuff together and really figure it out. But Paris was looking very, very polished last 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And it's hard, like that's their starting point. They can only go up from there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think I'm pretty close to you. I think it's either going to be a 3-0 Paris or I think it's going to be a 3-1 Paris still. I'm going to go with 3-1. I think that Subliners have the gun skill to win a respawn. I don't think they are going to win an S&D this weekend.
okay, I can see that.
So I'm going to go Paris 3-1.
All right. Well, enough about that first map at 6 a.m.
Sixth,
Lord.
yeah. Mine
Let's
says
go
6.
to-
Mine says 6:30, but yeah, that's I probably will not be watching that map. I will probably be watching replays of most of these. I can't get up that early, man. I cannot.
Let's go to the next match, Seattle and Dallas.
All right. I'm ready to talk about this one because I mentioned in the past.
So am
I mentioned in the past my second favorite team is the Seattle Surge, and I haven't watched scrims between Dallas and Seattle. Not a whole
Neither have
lot.
I.
Yeah. I've
thinking?
told you this before. I think Seattle's gonna have a hard time getting started, but the second that they figure it out, I guarantee you they're gonna be dominant. If they figure out how to turn it around, I think they're gonna be dominant. That being said, I think Dallas is very heated about this last
Yes.
weekend. Very heated. They tried to keep it composed. Crimsix kind of lost it after the last tournament.
Saying
Banning
that he banned himself from post-game interviews. Like,
that was
Come on.
hilarious. But did you watch that clip though of those
I
weird
did.
post game interviews? I mean, I get that they're awkward and they're different, but again,
I
like
like it.
again, dude, this is your job. Like you play Call of Duty for a living. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have a really cool job, and like I know you got to do these weird things that you're uncomfortable with, but dude, like suck it up. Like he was acting like a child.
Baby, yeah.
All
right,
I
who's
love
your
Crim
star
Six. I think he's a great player.
for- Who's your star player for the Surge?
For the it's gonna be Enable. It's gonna be
Enable?
Enable. Yeah.
Did you see his performance?
I know. And hear me out. Hear me out. I told you this before. The Seattle Surge is a very level-headed group because they all have won so many things, and I feel like they're doing a good job of putting their egos aside. I don't feel like people are playing like, oh, like I'm Karma, I've won 3 rings. Like he's never played like that. I feel like they're all very level-headed, almost to a fault, where they don't get as hyped up for matches as they need to be. And I think Enable will kind of, I don't know who's their like team captain, but I feel like Enable could take up that captain style role where it's like
Yeah.
he could make good play calls, he could take criticism well if he makes the wrong play calls, but also like be that force that kind of gets that team hyped up to win.
Yeah, be the fire under the butt.
Yeah, I mean honestly, so I would like to see Enable kind of fall into that role a little bit more.
Okay.
And then I haven't. I don't know if Dallas has streamed a whole lot since this past tournament.
No.
I have not watched a whole lot, but I'm curious to see what their mentality is right about now because I'm assuming
They're
they're
probably
getting.
pissed and ready.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're getting a lot of hate, and I'm wondering how they're handling it. Is Clayster going to be the overwhelming force where he takes this hate and kind of like fuels the fire and kind of gets his team hyped up, or is Crimsix going to be taking a lot of this hate and then acting the way Crimsix does? I love the kid. He's an obnoxiously good Call of Duty player, but he's always whined. I mean, every single tournament that they did poorly in Optic, he was always a big whiner. So it's like, is the toxicity gonna take over the hype, or is the hype gonna take over the toxicity? So
Yeah, for sure. All right. What's your map count?
I Seattle Surge did not do well last weekend. I'm keeping that in mind. I think it's going to be close, if anything.
I mean, you could still say that it's close, but
I
still
know.
be 3-0.
I know. Let's go. Let's go. I'm gonna say Dallas is gonna win it in a round 5, so 3-2. I'm going for the. I'm swinging for the fences here.
Okay. So here's my 2 cents for this matchup. Dallas is winning. Simple
Okay.
as that. 3-1. Seattle takes the search.
3-1. Seattle takes the search.
Yep.
You think so?
I think so. So after watching, yes, like Dallas is very good at the game. They didn't have the performance they wanted, but you can't rule them out and say they're the worst team in the league.
Right.
That in mind, though, you have Shotzi and Illy, who were down at the bottom of the leaderboards for performance last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going up against some big time players, and I see their egos getting over them, and someone like Karma or Octane is going to punish them. I feel like it's going to be a very close battle, but Seattle's going to take the search.
I think it depends on what search map they play. I think Dallas sometimes is really good at search if they get their pick for search maps.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. I think that, yeah, I mean, I definitely think Seattle could overtake them depending on the map. That's interesting. Okay, I'll write that
But
down.
I
You said 3-1.
Yep, definitely think Seattle is going to take the search, but Dallas is going to win.
Right on. All right, let's
Do you want
move.
to talk about Chicago and LA?
Yeah.
I mean, Aches, he's the optic killer.
He is the optic killer. I'm gonna go 3-1 Huntsman. I think they're gonna ride this hype wave a lot longer than the wave for Black Ops 4 was.
Yeah.
I think that this group is a little bit more experienced. They know what they need to do. I think Envoy kind of got his first, tournament jitters out, and he performed ridiculously well this past weekend. So I definitely think it's going to be a Chicago 3-0. That doesn't mean that LA is going to give them a run for their money. I think that it'll be pretty close.
For sure. I definitely agree with you on that. I think it's going to be a Chicago 3-0.
I will say, though,
it could be close.
That when we watched them play against Dallas, I'm really curious to see how Huntsmen face up against other teams, because I feel like the same with Atlanta FaZe, like they play the game so differently. Like when we were watching them play against Dallas, like Dallas moved as a clump around the map at all times, and Huntsmen, we would look down at the map and they're spread out all over the place, but somehow they made it work. And even in the domination. I mean, it got out of hand for both teams against Dallas and Optic there for a minute. But again, they played very spread out. So I'm wondering who is going to be the team to catch up or catch on to how Chicago Huntsmen play and see like an exploit to it, you
Well,
know?
see, I don't think it's who needs to catch on to Chicago. I think it's Chicago that needs to catch on to the game because that spread out thing works really well in this game for the respawns. Because if you're spread out, you can easily get someone pinned up in the back of the map in their spawn because they're just going to keep spawning there
Mm-hmm.
until Activision fixes the game. And you saw that in the domination versus Dallas.
Right.
They had Dallas trapped and they couldn't push any flag.
Right.
But when they tried it on search and destroy where they didn't respawn, you're going to have 1 to 2 players going up against 5. It just doesn't work that way. They need to figure out their search, I think.
Okay. That's a good point. So I said 3-0. What's your take?
3-0.
You think 3-0 as well?
Yep. Sorry, my cats are tearing up everything in this office.
Yeah, that's why dogs are better. Am I right or am I right?
Growling at the other cat.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, do you want to go first for London and Toronto, or do you want me to?
I will say this one thing and then I'll let you go.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto has expressed interest. I saw this on Esports Talk, who's another incredible channel. Definitely go check them out.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if you watched this episode, but the Toronto Ultra has expressed interest to sub out some people, start using their subs, and start. They're the only 10-man team in the CDL right now. I think if they could find a way to utilize these subs quicker than the other teams, then they'll be. I mean, that'll just put them ahead. That'll give them an edge over all these other different teams. And I think that. I mean, they're a pretty stacked roster. I mean, I don't think there's anybody on that roster that will underperform super greatly, but I would be very interested, and I think it would be well worth it for them to start playing around with subs before all of these other teams start doing it. And then, if they see success early on, then you're that much ahead of the game. So
For sure.
I'm very much keeping my eyes open to see if they decide to do that this weekend. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. This is going to be a little bit skewed, but I played a CMG tournament a couple days ago, and it was 3v3, and we somehow got paired against Brack, Lucky, and Metals. Or Brack, Classic, and Metals, sorry. I definitely think Toronto needs to sub in Brack. He is disgusting at this game. He could have keep in mind, I feel like I'm pretty good at Call of Duty, but I'm not pro level. Even though they're on Toronto, he's still a pro.
Right.
But he was very good. He played around us. He knew exactly what we were doing off of one grenade almost. Wow. And Classic and Metals, I'm not going to say they weren't good because we got absolutely slapped, but I just felt like Brack was playing at a higher level than both. So I really want to see him in this week.
I like Brack. Yeah, Brack was really good at BO4. I feel like, I forget who he played for in World War II. Was he on that Red Reserve team?
I don't care about
with
World War II.
I liked that game. I mean, I didn't play any of it myself, but I followed a lot of the professional Call of Duty World League. So, but no, I think that any sort of substitution would be super cool to see. I definitely like Brack. I think he's a good player. So, we'll see.
With all that being said, though, London is dirty at this game. They got the other twins. And
they were pretty good.
I feel like they're gonna take that series pretty easily.
I think what we all want to see is Ravens beating Ultra and Paris beating Subliners, and we
York.
want to see that rematch.
I really want to
We
see that
need to
rematch.
see that rematch.
That'd
But
be
I
huge.
think this is cool because this is the first tournament, and this is the first time that we'll see like the actual top two teams from an event face off against each other. I mean, whether that be, you know, the Empire versus like Paris, like we don't know, but I think it'll be very cool for the first time to see like a proven like a top tier team face off against another top tier team.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than like, I mean, no one really knew going into last week, but we all kind of had an idea that the Huntsmen were going to beat Optic. Like Optic hasn't been super great lately. So, I mean, you just kind of knew going into it, like what was going to happen for some of the matches, but
For sure.
I'm
map
super.
count, though, for London and Toronto 3-1.
You think Ravens are going to win it 3-1?
Yep.
Interesting.
Don't tell me what map they're losing, but they're losing one.
I don't know. I feel like this could very easily go to a game 5 as well. I think going back to what I said, it depends if Toronto Ultra want to risk it and start trying to use subs, because you could swap out subs mid game, yeah, or mid match.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's their best move. I think that
It really is.
the payoff would be too great. Either it fails and you lose, you know, a match, which points matter in the long run, but early on, like the points don't matter a whole lot, because if you're down, you have a little bit more drive to bring those points back up. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think you should take the
I
risk.
think they should too.
That
I figure that out.
being said, I think that London is gonna thrive off the hype of their home team,
Oh yeah.
and because the London crowd there is ridiculous. I mean, that's been known for, you know,
It's always been there.
the Call of Duty World League, that the London Invitational was like, that was the craziest crowd every single year. So I definitely think
Besides
that's
Vegas, but
yeah, but I mean, I definitely think that's gonna fuel the London Ravens to do a little bit better.
for sure. It's gonna be crazy. I'm thinking Minnesota times 10. Like these fans are gonna be diehard because there's only 2 EU teams.
Oh yeah, they're gonna go insane.
Oh yeah, for sure. And even if like or when London's playing Toronto, I bet you all the Paris fans will be cheering for London because it's EU. So I think definitely Paris and London are gonna have the crowd on their back.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with you. I think. Well, no, I changed my mind. I'm gonna go 3-0.
3-0?
I think they're gonna go 3-0. Again, I don't think it's gonna be, like a blowout. I don't think that the Toronto Ultra are gonna like get absolutely destroyed or 100-point club or anything. But yeah, I definitely think that the Ravens are gonna show up and they're gonna be super hyped, and the Twins are gonna be super hyped, and they definitely showed a lot of promise going into that first weekend. So I definitely think they're going to go 3-0.
Yeah.
And then if our scores match up, we're going to get that rematch, yeah, between
That would be a good one.
Paris and London. Ooh, I don't know. If Paris wins that, they're going to be so hyped, and it's going to be a heated match. I mean, for no reason. It was so heated last weekend for like no reason. Like the Paris Legion were standing up, they were talking all kinds of stuff, man. It was...
Hey, man, let me tell you, if I was on the stage playing Call of Duty, bro, I would literally be Black Ops 2 killer.
All the way. Just that guy that's annoying, but
I'm not even playing, bro.
Makes clips.
I'm literally not even playing.
Oh, jeez. I miss Killa. He was funny.
So, one of the last things I wanted to talk about that's really got me on edge recently is the Arcides and Pristini.
Oh yeah, it was interesting.
So for those who don't watch the Eavesdrop podcast put on by Hector Rodriguez Hex,
another incredible podcast. Go check it out.
Go watch it for sure. He had a podcast with Alec Arcides Sanderson, and
It's funny you know his last name. I didn't know his last name.
yeah,
Sanderson?
look at me,
Wow,
Sanderson,
look at you go. All right, go ahead.
not Anderson. But Arcides said this is his first time not playing Call of Duty with his twin brother, and he said three specific times that he feels that both of them are going to regret not playing together, and that they're going to end up teaming together within the next year or two.
Well, and then to make things worse was Prestini was the one that came back, and didn't he tweet out something that was like he was
He
like
said, "I can win without, or I'm going to show you guys that I can win without my brother. I
yeah,
won't beat
it
him."
I mean, the community took it as like a salty comment, but picture you and me playing in the COD League, dude. We would
Yeah.
be at each other's throats, but at the end of the day, we both know it would be super cool to team together. Like I
Yeah.
think that they know that. They've been on a team together, so I think that they know it would be super cool. And they're kind of just doing that McGregor effect that I talk about where it's just like they just need to
Yeah.
talk it up. That's another drama point for people to talk about. We're talking about it right now. So it's like
Yeah. Well, see, here's my thing. I'm not taking a lot of weight into what Pristini said per
Mhm.
se. I really like Arcides though on the Huntsman.
You used to hate
him at
this kid.
first.
I loved
I
Arcides,
hated
man,
him
for no
because in
reason.
IW he would just snipe formal every time.
He was nasty in IW. Yeah.
But so that means Huntsman probably will not pick up Pristini. I don't see it happening. I don't see him meshing with all the other guys on there. So that means Arcides is basically saying he's going to be leaving. But is
Oh,
he
I
really
don't.
going to do that? I don't know.
I don't think so.
He said it 3 times.
I don't
that
think
he thinks
so.
he's going to regret it, and that he would go back.
Yeah. I think it's too early for them to be talking about that. Maybe games in the future. Like I said, I don't know how it works for teams to trade players. I believe there's one point within the season that you can like openly trade players and everything. But I think that the main roster changes are probably still going to happen between games, like in the off season.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe he's talking about just in the future, because like they're both going to be playing competitive Call of Duty 4 years from
For
now.
a
Like
while.
they're not
They're-
going
They're
anywhere.
still young.
Right. So it's like, I think that he's just saying that. I mean, they'll probably end up teaming in the future. It'll probably bring a lot of hype to whatever team. And I think that they're just consciously trying to grow that hype so that when it does happen, people are like talking about it, like the reunite. But I mean, it was the same with the London twins. I mean, they separated, they did different teams, and it wasn't as like,
Dramatic.
yeah, it wasn't like as dramatic or talked about, but I mean, they gave each other a hard time, just as you would expect, and then now they're back together, and I feel like people are hyped about it. I'm happy to see them back
Yeah.
together. They're both nasty at the game, so
I don't know. That it's just not sitting well with me. I like Arcides now. I'm team Arcides. I don't know. He just vibes really well with the team. He does really well with the team.
I don't
Him
know.
and Formal are an unstoppable duo.
Yeah. If we're talking about the Huntsman, did you see that clip that Gunless and Envoy were?
I don't want to talk about that one.
I don't either, because I feel like it's another one of those, like, Call of Duty. It's just a lot of back and forth between people. I mean, ever since, I mean, we could throw it back to the Modern Warfare 2 lobbies. Like, it felt like there was genuine hate when you would just listen to it, and when other people that didn't play COD came and listened to it, they were appalled by what people were saying. But that's just the community that we have built, you know?
Literally. And that's the other thing. Hex had Envoy on the Eavesdrop podcast. And Envoy was like, everyone thinks Pierce and I hate each other, but we get into arguments, and then the next game we're gassing each other. Like, it's just to fix things. Like, there's no bad blood between them. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's said, yeah, people are going to be making a big hustle bustle about it.
Hustle bustle.
Hustle bustle is my new phrase.
Hustle bustle.
But I just don't feel like it has any weight to anything going on. I feel like it's just irrelevant.
Yeah. I've kind of seen that since the beginning though. I was kind of turned off by Envoy. I didn't really know a whole lot about him. But he just kind of felt a little annoying to me, honestly. Like
Yeah.
the fact that he would say something after every single round that I would watch. I mean, I know that he's young and he's very excited, and I would be too. I mean, he's a young kid going pro in Call of Duty and winning, like, and succeeding. So he has every right to be hyped, but I don't know. I feel like if I was that young, I would sit back and wait until Scumper Formal had something to say. Or Arcides. Arcides is a world champion. So it's like I would like to learn from them rather than keep like putting my input in all of the time. So
Envoy's been around for a while.
I know he has, but
I feel like that's just his personality. And
yeah,
I think everyone on Huntsman knew that it came with it.
right.
So
I think it was interesting the fact that they chose those three. That Scump and Formal chose those three to team with.
well, it was funny because Envoy said that, or Envoy, however you want to pronounce it, said that him and Alec were going as a duo, him and Arcides.
Really?
So yeah, so they were selling themselves as a duo.
Hmm.
And Matt and Seth knew that they wanted to team together after champs last year, so that's 4. And they needed someone else to play flex, and everyone knows Gunless is a god, so
Right.
they just picked up God Squad.
Yeah.
But that was my last big topic I wanted to hit on.
Well, I want to talk about one more thing and then we'll wrap it up. Who do you think's going to win? Who's coming out on top this weekend?
Chicago.
You think Chicago?
Chicago.
You still think they're going to ride that wave, from last
for
weekend?
sure. They're on cloud 9.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Seattle and London. Or not Seattle. Wow. Chicago and London.
You think Chicago and London are going to face off in the end?
Yep. Because look at Group B. London can take that 100%. Either London or Paris. And then Chicago needs to come out, man. They need to come out and smack Seattle and Dallas, but I think they can do it. They're literally on cloud 9.
Yeah. We'll see.
They're the
I
number
mean,
one ranked team going into this tournament. Since
right.
Atlanta's not there. What about you? Who do you got?
I think that the Ravens are going to come out with a little bit more of a fire this week. I think that they were ready to win both of the matches last week, and now they're going to come back this week with their home crowd acting like they're going to have something to prove,
Okay.
I think that they definitely have a driving force to let everybody know that they are a top 3 team. Even one of them was interviewing on the desk after their match, and he was like, we are a top 3 team. I don't know why people keep putting us down, but like we play like we're a top 3 team. And I think that drive to be where they are in their head is going to propel them kind of forward. So I think that,
It's a hard one.
I think that Huntsmen are going to take it this weekend. I hope that they take it this weekend. That would be awesome. But I definitely would look out for the Ravens, and I would not be surprised if the Ravens overtook some of these top teams.
Oh,
that we
for
see.
sure.
Especially if they beat the Ultra and then they play, literally anybody. Like if they start winning, I feel like they're going to keep winning. Like they're a team that they definitely ride the hype wave as far as it'll take them. So
that's what I feel like. Whatever team comes out in Group B and A to play, like you got to win that first series.
right.
If you lose that first series, I feel like your momentum's gone. You're screwed.
Ooh, if Dallas comes out and lose to the Surge.
Oh, if Dallas come out and lose, bro, that's it.
That means they're starting the league 0-3. That would be
Book your
rough.
flight early. Go
that
home.
would be rough. Oh my gosh. So, but hey,
So
we
you got Chicago and London.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I still think the Huntsmen are going to take it.
Okay. We'll see. Coming up.
Yeah. So. All right.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, we are still trying to solidify our schedules, and by we I mean
Yeah,
Mork.
moisty.
Nope. We're trying to solidify our schedule so that we could do it every single Sunday, still the podcast. I think that there's enough to talk about, especially with the Call of Duty League. And then once it's the off season, I'm sure we'll talk about a plethora of other things, hopefully by then. But I definitely like the schedule of doing at least one podcast a week because they're pretty easy to talk about, and we like we like talking about games and Call of Duty. But we look for us on YouTube. We'll definitely be posting this. I don't know if we'll post any clips from this. I said we were going to do it last time and we didn't. I definitely think going into the podcast that happens directly after a tournament that we're going to stockpile a bunch of clips and kind of do a rundown of the top 10 clips of the week. And that'll definitely be its own separate video to be posted on YouTube as well. We'll make sure to start saving those clips, or if we hear about something, we'll pull up the whole Call of Duty's YouTube is doing a really good job of posting the whole match on there. And that's how I plan to watch most of these this weekend. So I'm glad that they're staying on top of that. But
and Saturday's going to be a long day for the players.
Dude, I know. My God, you're not kidding. There's only 2 matches on Sunday?
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello?
What page am I looking at? I'm going to refresh this.
You're looking at the right one, brother.
I literally just refreshed and it updated. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that these stayed the same, or I would look like an idiot. Like yeah,
he's an idiot.
No, that's insane.
Can't figure out the interwebs.
I literally just pulled this up an hour ago. That's insane that they're updating this now. I mean, the tournament's 4 days away. Okay.
Who knows what we're getting?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of matches on Sunday. Okay. But, yep, be looking for us on YouTube. Definitely join the podcast live if you can. We'd love to have you in the chat asking questions.
Yeah, for sure. I'll love to answer questions.
Right. And if you have like big talking points or want to drop us some clips to react to, we would definitely love doing that. That's the end goal for this podcast, is I want it to be as interactive with the chat as possible. So be looking for us on YouTube. We'll be posting on Instagram and Twitter here pretty soon as well. Yeah, we're trying, man. We're trying to get this thing up and rolling.
We're getting this going. Let us know how you like the video in the comments. For sure.
Yeah, definitely give us your predictions too. Yeah, like I said, we want this to be like an open discussion with everybody. I've thought about starting a Discord, one thing at a time, though. One thing at a time.
Yeah, we're busy.
We're busy. So
we'll
let us know in the comments what you want to think or what you think is going to happen. So I think that's it, brother.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday.
All right. Later.